Good evening and thank you for joining us. This is News 360 from our news hub here in Accra. My name is Isa Moni. And
my name is Esi Benewanyame. Coming on our top stories this evening.
News 360 Headlines is brought to you by
traditional rulers in Asante pay last respect to their longest-serving Queen Mother, Ifia Sewa Kubi Ampem.
President Akufo-Addo reassures to revamp agricultural sector and make it attractive to the youth.
And also in the bulletin tonight, we will bring you several benefits of the donkey in the country's savannah zone.
Coming up in business, International Monetary Fund gives indication it is open to renegotiating ongoing 3-year external credit facility program.
In international news, Nigerian-born Chief Justice of the Gambia, Justice Emmanuel Fagbele, recuses himself from hearing an injunction against Thursday's inauguration of Adama Barrow as President of the Gambia. We have the details, including sports and entertainment, coming up shortly. Stay with us.
And to begin with, President Akufo-Addo has reiterated his administration's commitment at modernizing agriculture by improving production efficiency through the use of ICT. Addressing the 68th Annual New Year School and Conference in Accra, the president assured of transforming the sector to promote food security.
This year's annual New Year School and Conference is on the theme Promoting National Development Through Agriculture Modernization, the Role of ICT. Vice-Chancellor of the University of Ghana, Professor Ebenezer Odro-Usu, called for an effective ICT policy on agriculture to enhance the sector.
Deploying ICT in agriculture calls for serious approach and fundamental shifts in policy and orientation of governments, policymakers and end users such as farmers and relevant stakeholders. Modernizing agriculture must not be merely an item in the manifestos of political parties. Rather, strategies of governments must sufficiently be in place for an ICT-enabled transformation of the entire agricultural sector.
Acting Provost of the College of Education, Professor Michael Aite Tego, said rapid development and utilization of ICT in agriculture will promote socio-economic advancement of farmers. Ministerial nominee for Agriculture, Dr. Owusu Friakoto, gave a hint on a campaign to encourage more people into the sector from March.
This year, 2017, the spearhead of the campaign will involve the production of maize, rice, soybean, sorghum, and vegetables. Other crops will be adopted in subsequent years. The campaign is to be anchored on the following pillars: provision of improved seeds, supply of fertilizers, provision of dedicated extension service, marketing, and e-agriculture.
President Akufo-Addo outlined the relevance in modernizing the sector.
Our policies and interventions will encompass the full agricultural value chain and create additional businesses and job opportunities in the areas of storage, transport, processing, packaging, and marketing of agricultural produce, all of which will ensure that our farmers and fisherfolk earn higher incomes.
And former President John Mahama has been commended by Professor Jeffrey Sachs for the many innovations he introduced into the health sector. Jeffrey Sachs, who is also a renowned professor at Columbia University, was speaking during a courtesy call on the former president at his residence on Sunday. Discussions focus on implementation of the 1 Million Community Health Workers campaign. The two expressed optimism that the project will be sustained for the larger benefit of the people in deprived communities. The Ghana campaign has so far recruited, trained and deployed 20,000 community health workers who are contributing significantly to the delivery of healthcare services in the rural communities. Professor Sachs extended an open invitation to the former president to consider supporting efforts being rolled out at the level of the African Union and the United Nations to further the advancement of humanity.
And in other news, the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union ICU has petitioned the court to revoke wrongful transfers and recruitment which was undertaken by the former Chief Executive Officer of Cocoa Board, Dr. Stephen Opuni. According to the General Secretary of ICU, Solomon Kote, the petition is to sanitize Cocoa Board and to check the CEOs to respect procedures before initiating any such steps in future.
Dr. Stephen Opuni has been relieved of his post as the Chief Executive Officer of Cocoa Board. Before his exit, the ICU and GAWU raised concerns about him ignoring the role of the mother unions in negotiating for workers. In 2016 alone, the ICU and GAWU accused Dr. Opuni of offering 20% to staff of Cocoa Board without negotiations with the mother union. The ICU and GAWU have called on the government to investigate some financial malfeasance under Dr. Stephen Opuni. On the wrongful transfers, ICU said it has already petitioned the court to revoke those decisions by the former Cocoa Board boss.
One of them is the WAMCO incident. Okay, then when it came to real negotiation issues, we decided I will not negotiate, I will go and make pronouncement. He chose to run his own salary scheme. Okay, these are things that are direct in confrontation with the law. And happily, the ICU is in court on most of these issues.
The General Secretary, Solomon Kote, indicated plans of reintegrating workers of Cocoa Board into the ICU. Solomon Kote dismissed media reports of vying for the chief executive position of Cocoa Board.
I'm in ICU. I've been seconded by the Cocoa Board to the ICU, and if such a decision ought to be made, the National Executive Council of the ICU will have to discuss that with me. So that does not mean I've accepted and I've said no to it. I know the structures and I want procedure just to move.
And residents of Avino in Accra are appealing for a waste disposal receptacle after the clearing of an unauthorized dumping site in the community by the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. Residents now have to risk crossing the Caprice section of the Accra-Nsawam Highway to dispose of their garbage.
For 3 months, the Aveno community was compelled to endure an unauthorized waste disposals here between the Haji Street and the rail line. Following TV3's repeated exposure of the development, the Accra Metropolitan Assembly's Waste Department finally cleared the tons of garbage by dawn Sunday, January 15. What is left is a final reclamation of the area, which was partially accomplished. But for these 2 black polythene bags, which were reportedly disposed of under the cover of darkness, the area would have been free from fresh waste Monday morning. This teenager, obviously not aware of the situation, was at the site to dispose of refuse, but was asked to look for an alternative place. On her way, she mistook this unkempt area as an alternative, but was again guided to go further. We followed her on the long winding journey through the Caprice traffic light and finally to the Wukudaku container site, where she paid 50 pesos to dispose of the waste. She declined to speak on camera, but was worried about the failure of the waste management contractors and the AMA to provide the Aveno community with waste containers. Other residents expressed a similar sentiment and appealed to the AMA to be proactive in order to prevent people from dumping indiscriminately along the roads.
Now to some good news. The French government is helping build the capacity of the police service in Ghana, Togo and Benin in the fight against terrorism and drug trade. It is also providing logistical support, including sophisticated communication and tracking equipment to help in tracking and crime detection.
The French government has over the years collaborated with the Ghana Police Service and other security agencies to clamp down on the activities of drug trafficking and organized crime. Its technical support has been extended to the sub-region, bringing together Ghana, Togo and Benin under one umbrella. The current support focuses on counter-terrorism, drug law enforcement and public order management.
The fight against crime is a shared responsibility. Terrorism is a major cause of concern, considering its devastating effects on nations. It is therefore refreshing to hear that the skills of the counter-terrorism unit of the Ghana Police Service will be enhanced through this capacity-building program.
French Ambassador to Ghana, Francois Pujolas, assured of sustained support for the police in the sub-region.
I'm very optimistic on the contrary. When I see this gathering, when I see that last year we in total trained almost 200 police officers of Ghana, both in the drug trafficking area or in the counter-terrorism, and I hope we'll do even more in the future, beginning this year. I'm very happy and confident that all together we'll be able to tackle those challenges and finally reach what we ultimately all want, which is a peaceful environment and economic and social development, sustainable development for all.
He also lauded the Ghana Police Service for its efforts at ensuring a peaceful election in December. The French ambassador later presented communication gadgets, tracking devices, and office equipment to the police CID.
Now, over to the Ashanti region, where most media is focusing. President Akufo-Addo has paid tribute to the late Asante Nana Ifeakobi Sewa Ampem at the Menchia Palace in Kumasi. Former President Jerry John Rawlings and his wife Nakunedu and the former President John Ajikun Kufuor were also at the palace to mourn with the Asante and Asante Mai.
Today marked the start to the 4-day burial rites of the late Asante Nana Ifeakobi Sewa Ampem. Thousands of people from across the country and also from abroad joined the Menchia Palace to join the Asante Otumfo Osei to mourn the late Queen Mother of the Asante Kingdom. The Asante Otumfo Osei arrived at the funeral grounds in a palanquin. Former President John Ajikun Kufuor was also at the Menchia Palace grounds to mourn with Otumfo Osei. Also at the funeral was the President of the National House of Chiefs, Togbe Afede, and the former UN Secretary General Kofi Annan. President Akufo-Addo also arrived with his entourage to mourn with the Asante Hene. Nana Ifeakobi Sewa Ampem II was the 13th Queen Mother of the Asante Kingdom. She passed away on November 14, 2016. She was the biological mother of the reigning king. She will be buried on Thursday night at the Breman Royal Mausoleum after a brief stopover at the Bantaman Royal Mausoleum, where some traditional rites will be performed.
And earlier, thousands of mourners converged at the Menchia Palace in Kumasi to observe the first day of the burial rites of the Asante Nana Ifeakobi Sewa Ampem.
Otumfo's arrival to the Deba grounds was characterized by the firing of musketry and the burning of palm fronds. In accordance with the Asante custom, Otumfo sat in state to receive delegations. A large number of paramount chiefs and their sub-chiefs from the Asante Kingdom dressed in splendid kuntunkuni, bringing the rich and time-tested Asante culture to bear. A sight to behold at the Deba is a show of spiritual prowess by the chief priest of the Asante Kingdom, led by the Sumankwahene Bafo Kujawusu. The antics and dancing attracted many people who were impressed with the state of incantations and performances by the priests.
There will be more in the coming days from the Ashanti region on the funeral of the late Asante. You're watching News 360 and still to come tonight.
Several benefits of the donkey in the country's savannah zone. Will bring you more on that.
And in business, International Monetary Fund gives indication it is open to renegotiating ongoing 3-year external credit facility program.
And on the international front, Nigerian-born Chief Justice of the Gambia, Justice Emmanuel Fagbemi, recuses himself from hearing an injunction against Thursday's inauguration of Adama Barrow as president. Stay with News 360, we'll bring you more.
Right, you're on News 360, and we are back with business with Alfred Okanse.
Absolutely.
IMF is in the news.
Absolutely, and they're giving indications that there's going to renegotiate the IMF program. Well, it's something that was expected because the NPP administration did give that indication that they were going to review some of the terms in there. We'll see how that pans out eventually.
Great, Alfred.
Right. Let's get into business this evening. My name is Alfred Okanse. Now, the International Monetary Fund has given indication it is open to renegotiate some success benchmarks of its ongoing 3-year external credit facility program with the government of Ghana, following government's inability to keep to the 5.2% fiscal deficit target. A spokesperson of the fund in Washington said a team will be ready to visit Accra in the coming weeks to discuss recent economic developments and hear from the authorities about their plans for engaging with the fund going forward. According to the International Monetary Fund, Ghana appears unlikely to achieve its fiscal objectives for 2016, giving the outturn for the first 3 quarters of the year, calling for stronger efforts. The fund expects the overall fiscal deficit on a cash basis to be some 2 to 3 percentage points higher than the 5.2% of GDP that it's projected in September, owing to a very weak revenue performance and higher than planned capital spending. government is to ensure improvement in the country's export trade between Ghana and Morocco. Speaking at the Ghana-Morocco economic meeting in Accra, Finance Minister nominee Ken Ofori-Atta says the $3.6 million export to Morocco as against $64.8 million import from Morocco must be improved to encourage local production.
Ghana and Morocco have had long-standing bilateral ties since the 1960s. These relations have resulted in interventions in the aviation, agricultural and educational sectors. However, much of the economic potential from both countries remain untapped. The Ghana-Morocco economic meeting seeks to explore greater investment opportunities to deepen economic ties. Ministerial nominee for Finance Ken Ofori-Atta assured the business community of the new administration's preparedness in creating a more stable business environment.
I'm sure most of you worry about budget deficits, currency stability and all of that. And that really is what we at the ministry are about. How do we ensure that our revenues increase, our expenditures value for money driven, corruption is cut down, which is one of the key issues that the president is concerned about. The government will be a lot more business oriented.
CEO of Ghana Investment Promotion Center, Mawina Dumont Treba, highlighted agriculture, manufacturing and financial services as Ghana's priority sectors for development.
Remittance of proceeds on the sale or liquidation of investments. There are a number of customs duties exemptions. There are locational incentives. I think that's very important for those of you who will be looking to invest outside of the traditional commercial capitals, Accra, Kumasi, Takoradi. There are tax rebates available for those of you looking at those locations.
Leader of the Moroccan business delegation, Miriam Ben Salah Shakron, described the Ghanaian business environment as ideal for investment and economic growth.
In this framework, we private sector representatives, actors of the economic diplomacy, need to fulfill our role in straightening the business ties between the Republic of Ghana and the Kingdom of Morocco.
King Mohammed VI of Morocco will pay a state visit to Ghana on January 18.
All right, so prices of petroleum products are up between 2 to 10% at the various pumps across the country. The increase is actually due to the cedi's depreciation as well as existing petroleum taxes.
For petrol, you're looking at between 2 to about 10%. For diesel, it's likely to be about 2 to 6% from what we have seen at the market so far. But as we speak, most of the OMCs are still in the adjusting phase. So people should go out there and fill their tanks because invariably prices have gone up and the pumps are beginning to reflect them.
This is the second increase in petroleum prices in 2017, according to COPEC. Until government removes existing taxes on fuel, consumers will continue to bear the brunt at the pumps.
If the government doesn't do anything about taxes immediately, we have said that 100 days is good grace period for any government to be assessed. But on fuel, as far as deregulation is in full force, as far as the bi-weekly window pricing is in full force, the government may not have to take the 100-day period to do something about it. Today prices have gone up. It could go up again.
All right, we'll stay the steam on that story going forward subsequently in our bulletins. But let's go on to the commodities market now and find out how the commodities are faring on the world market. If you've seen, gold is trading at $1,203.03, and it's up by 4.8%. And I must say that gold is enjoying some increase on holiday trading today in the United States, and there's been a lot of exchange in that respect. Cocoa as well now also trading at $2,213 a ton. Now it's been dropping for the past 3 days, and the reason has been attributed to some bad weather that most cocoa producing countries are experiencing as we speak at the moment. And there's a lot of focus as well with other issues relating to especially cotton. And this particular administration, that's the Nana Akufo-Addo-led administration, that's made commitments to improve on the cotton production in this country. And we're going to keep a focus on how they intend to deliver on that particular promise. If you recall, this particular cotton production in the 3 northern regions has been at its still shadow as we speak, because a lot of the farmers now have been complaining of low yields and have decided to divert their attention into other areas. But cotton as well, the crude oil now trading on the world market now at $55.77 a barrel. Now it's up by 0.58%, and this is the reason, even though the oil producing exporting countries committed to an increase in the cut down of their production levels from 1.2 million barrels per day to about 32.5 million barrels per day. There's some doubt on the part of investors because Russia and the likes though have committed, but have still not discharged on that commitment. We'll keep an eye on the developments on the world market with respect to crude oil prices. But that's it for business this afternoon and this evening. And well, it's over to you. Right? Absolutely. Isa, what's happening for?
Right, we're going to talk about some other forms of transportation apart from the normal way that, I mean, what we usually know, like motorcycles. And yes, it's going to be donkey business.
It's been a while sitting on a donkey.
On a donkey, riding from Accra to Tamale.
How profitable would that be?
Now let's focus on some other forms of transportation. And the donkey remains the most reliable and cheapest means in mechanized farming in the northern region, despite being used as a means of transportation. Zubaida Ismail reports the NPP's One District, One Factory is already giving impetus to Chinese investors who see donkeys as another avenue for business.
The history of donkeys on Ghanaian soil can be traced to Boko in the Upper East region, where they were brought from the Swahilian countries and offered for sale by natives. The Mamprugu traditional area in the northern region has quite a number of donkeys, mostly used in farming and in other activities during the dry season when there is less farming. These beasts of burden serve a dual purpose in transportation, carting of goods, and transporting human beings. Laba, the oldest donkey of Joseph Timu, has the task of transporting the owner's son, Larry Mack, to school each morning. Larry Mack, who wants to be a medical doctor in future, is getting ready for school. The donkey patiently graces, awaiting its master. The journey to the Our Lady of Hope School in Bongprogu takes about 15 minutes. A Chinese meat slaughtering company, Blue Coast, has been set up in the area. According to the management of the company, the setting up the facility is in line with the One District, One Factory manifesto promise of the new patriotic party. TV3 gathered the meat, which is a Chinese delicacy, is separated and exported to China in its raw form, while the skin is used to manufacture leather accessories. To the locals, despite the usefulness of donkeys, they see it beneficial to sell them to Blue Coast Company. Here, at least 25 donkeys are slaughtered daily. With the service of middlemen, officials of Blue Coast only have to wait for the arrival of trucks of donkeys. Young, old, and strong donkeys are offered for sale at an average cost of 200 cedis. To meet the yearning demand, some residents have engaged in killing and skinning of donkeys. Our cameras were not allowed into the premises of the company, but regarded, the operators have certificates from the Environmental Protection Agency as well as certificates for commencement of business. However, a certificate from the Ministry of Agriculture was missing. The officer in charge, Nicholas Leo, who spoke off camera, revealed the company has other 9 outlets in sub-Saharan countries processing donkeys.
And back here in Accra, pedestrian and vehicular movement came to a standstill Monday morning on the Tema-Accra Motorway for 8 hours when a gas tanker got involved in an accident. Although no casualty was recorded, frustrated motorists had to abandon their vehicles in despair. A report by Josephine Frimpong.
The accident occurred about 6:30 a.m. Monday morning. The police said the tanker driver was heading to Burkina Faso from Atuabo with 6,000 tanks of gas. Upon reaching the Klagon Junction, a vehicle overtook them, compelling them to stop abruptly. When they stopped, the tanker toppled and blocked the road. Minutes after, the police and firemen were called in, but traffic began to build up, forcing some drivers and police to find other alternative routes.
I have to devise a strategy of which the traffic will go down and then the general public will also get access to their workplace because it was in a rush hour.
For 5 hours, there were no movement and firemen had to devise a way out. But oblivious of the dangers, motorists still trooped to the scene. Efforts to get the tanker lifted failed for 6 hours. And angered by that, some motorists abandoned their vehicles whilst the passengers also alighted and trekked on foot.
It's been a very difficult and painful journey. To think that there is no coordination on the road, one would have expected that the moment there was a catastrophe here, the booths should have been alerted to stop selling so that you take your informed decision as to whether there was even a necessity for you to come on the road.
What we are experiencing today, if we have alternative route, I don't think these things will happen. So I'm suggesting that road needs to be looked at.
A new crane, which was expected to use 1 hour to lift the tanker, was also deployed to save the situation.
So after 6 hours, now the crane has finally been able to lift the gas tankers. They are going to decouple the head, give it a new head so that they can move the gas tanker from the stretch.
Although no casualty was recorded, firemen fear of a possible explosion if a leakage was discovered on the tanker.
This is a gas. It can explode at any given time. And so people passing and watching and standing by to see what will happen is so dangerous. We ask that this attitude of us, Ghanaians, should stop. Other than that, we'll continue to record a lot of deaths when these incidents happen.
Well, I wonder if people will ever stop watching such incidents on the road. Now, in this period of hostile harmattan weather and shortage of fresh water, some farmers in the Borno region are braving the odds to grow vegetables by adopting the use of the dripping irrigation technique. TV3 visited one of the farms, Kofi Vignon Farms, at Kwetire in the Sunyani West District.
A physically challenged farmer, Kofi Vignon, took to maize farming in 2016 and was adjudged Best National Maize Farmer during the Farmers' Day event. He has, however, gone into vegetable cultivation owing to the dry season. Kofi Vignon engages 30 farm hands to engage on his 10 acres vegetable farm. Due to the time-consuming nature of the manual irrigation, Kofi Vignon resorted to the use of a tube that is fitted to a borehole through which water flows and drips onto the vegetables. Borno Ahafo Regional Director of the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, Dr. Cyril Quist, who normally gives technical advice to Kofi Vignon, explained the advantages associated with the application of dripping irrigation.
He is trying to overcome the challenge of soil moisture for agriculture in the dry season. I think this initiative is good, but going forward, as the plants grows, you need to also provide mulch in order to reduce the rate of evaporation so that you'll be able to retain the soil moisture for a longer period of time.
Kofi Vignon said he has plans to expand his farming activities to create jobs.
Now water is becoming scarce. We are using boreholes, and nowadays you cannot get plenty water from the boreholes. So we sat down and we realized that, okay, let us give a small, we call it dam for the plant, so that the water will directly go into the plant. So it's not necessary you spring water to areas that you really don't need the water. So that is why we came out with this concept. And you could see on the field that it's really working for us. We are thinking of increasing our borehole so that we can really move more water into our reservoir and then push it to the farm so that workers can get water to put on the plant.
Well, so stay with us. We'll bring you more on what is happening at the AFCON. So Nana Kojo Afre will join us in a moment with all those details. Stay with us. This is News 360. We'll be back shortly. Nana Kojo-Afre, tomorrow Ghana is playing.
Yeah, and it's a game that everybody is expecting the Black Stars to win, you know, after what Uganda did to us in the 2018, you know, World Cup qualifiers. Yeah, but there's an assurance that, you know, the team can go on and win that game against Uganda. They've been speaking of how they want to end Ghana's 35-year wait for a Nations Cup trophy. And if they are to do that, they must start on a very good note. But then, as, you know, we have seen in this tournament so far, there are no minnows. We saw the way Zimbabwe played against Algeria, you know, and all of that. So definitely, we're expecting some tight contest in there.
Togo holding the whole Cote d'Ivoire to
you can imagine, and the only star man in that, you know, Togo team was Emmanuel Adebayo, who has not played football for close to 7 months. So it tells you that, you know, when you have the right mentality and the right attitude, you can go on to do well against, you know, a country that is even better than you as far as football is concerned.
But is it going to be easy for them tomorrow?
I think so.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
We all hope so.
All right. All right, so now let's get into the details of the sports news we have for you. And we begin with the 2017 AFCON as we bring you updates on what happened today, because defending champions Ivory Coast and Togo drew goalless in their opening Group C match at the Africa Cup of Nations in Gabon. Jonathan Koja's toe poke was well stopped at close range by Togo goalkeeper Kosi Agasa at the other end. Sylvain Bohu rushed out of his goal to save smartly at the feet of Matthew Doseve. Late on, Ivory Coast defender Sergio Aurier headed wide from an unmarked position in a rare clear-cut chance. Neither side found their influence, and even from early on the game, it had looked like a stalemate for the fourth in 5 games at the finals. Currently, Morocco is playing DR Congo, and that game is goalless as we speak. Let's go on to our next story. After weeks of facing backlash from Ghanaians, the Black Stars players have resolved to accept any amount proposed by the country's sports ministry as winning bonus at the 2017 Africa Cup of Nations. After such a bold declaration by the players, here is a preview to their AFCON 2017 opening match against Uganda.
Ghana will be keen to start the tournament on a high as they chase their first trophy since 1982, with Uganda back after a lengthy absence. Ghana are one of the tournament's most decorated nations, with only Egypt having bettered their tally of 4 AFCON triumphs. Ghana coach Avram Grant wants the players to be in the moment at the 2017 Africa Cup of Nations and not be distracted by the past.
The last African, it was very, very close, 22 penalties, and if we may say we was the better side, but this is good for the memories. Now we want to achieve something, and as you see, as I saw the players, and I know them now, I know them more than 2 years, they can achieve a lot of things when we are together, and we are together, and it's a good group of people with quality and with passion to serve the countries, and this is why I choose them. There is players that even they have the quality. When I saw that they don't want to serve the country and make other people happy, which this is the main thing in national team. In national team, you have a privilege to serve your country and make a lot of people happy.
Ghana's last trophy came 35 years ago, but since then, they have lost in 3 finals, most recently against the Elephants on penalties in 2015. Captain Asamoah Gyan is counting on tournament experience within the Ghana camp to go a step further.
Everybody knows statistically we are ahead of them, and then if they beat Ghana, it's a big news for them. And then if we beat them, people might say it's a normal thing. But I want to tell people, Uganda is a great team. You know, they've demonstrated their quality in recent months, and I think they are one of the best teams in Africa right now. We are not expecting an easy game. You know, that brings pressure. We will make sure we go out there and then do what we do best, and then make sure we come out victorious, you know, because I'm a Ghanaian and I'm taking positive for my team.
Uganda last qualified for AFCON in 1978 when they were beaten 2-0 in the final by Ghana. They had to settle for second spots in their qualification section behind Burkina Faso, but paid Botswana and Comoros to second place and booked their tickets for the finals in Gabon as one of the 2 best runners-up.
Still on the Black Stars, with a team yet to kick off against Uganda in AFCON 2017, we take a look at how Avram Grant will shape up with the quality he has in his side and whether some of the new players will get a look in.
There are those who have questioned the quality of the 23-man squad named by Avram Grant for the AFCON 2017. Majid Waris was dropped for Schalke's Benatekpete, but his likes may yet have to wait to feature for the nation in their opening game against Uganda on Tuesday. In the goalkeeping department, Grant will keep most of his usual squad and the goalkeeping role will go in favour of Razak Brahma, ahead of Fatau Dauda. While Stars goalkeeper Richard Ofori for now will just have to do with the experiences he is gaining in the senior national team of Ghana. The head coach usually sticks with his trusted defenders, as John Boy will partner Jonathan Mensah at the heart of defence, as this is the partnership that has worked for Avram Grant since taking over as Black Stars boss. Abdul Babaraman will keep his place at left back with little competition for him due to Jeffrey Schlupp's absence. Harrison Affle will occupy the opposite side. Daniel Amate will have no place at the back of the defence he got in the squad after some great displays for Leicester City in the Premier League and Champions League going into the game against Uganda. The hype, however, has never cooled down. Ifri Yakwa and Mubarak Wakaso are likely to be deployed to do the work at the heart of Ghana's midfield. Between defending and attacking, they will defend more, but would also push forward when need be. Andre Ayew and Christian Achu will be the creative minds to transition Ghana's defence into attack. Ayew recently returned from injury, but his inclusion in the lineup will not be for just footballing reasons. Jordan Ayew has a place in the lineup. He is not scoring many goals for Aston Villa recently due to how he's been deployed. On a very good day for Jordan, look past his sacked shots, he can get the goals. Who more well placed to partner him in attack than Asamoah Gyan? The skipper of the Stars is the main danger man and will be very likely to start barring any injuries. Adding to his goals at the AFCON 2017 will extend his lead at the top of the all-time scoring charts and a further step to break Wilberforce's 8-goal record for Ghana in AFCON history.
To news in England now, Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola has admitted his team is out of the Premier League title race after a 4-0 loss to Everton at Goodison Park. City are now 10 points behind leaders Chelsea after the defeat at Merseyside, their heaviest league loss in Guardiola's managerial career. 45-year-old Guardiola has told his players to unite in the bad moments and forget the table until the end of the season. The former Barcelona and Bayern Munich boss insisted he was so happy in Manchester despite his side sitting fifth, 2 points behind fourth place Arsenal. To news from the Australian Open, four-time champion Roger Federer reached the Australian Open second round with a 4-set victory over Austria's Georgian Melzer in Melbourne. The 35-year-old appearing in his first competitive match in 6 months after injuring his knee won in 3-1 in a 4 thrilling set encounter. World number 4 Stan Wawrinka needed 5 sets to beat Slovakia's Martin Klizan. Japan's Kei Nishikori, ranked 5th, is through after beating Russia's Andrei Kostinostov. In the women's event, world number 1 Angelique Kerber started the defense of her Australian Open title with a 10-2, 5-7, 6-2 win over Lizia Turenko on Rod Laver Arena. The German was top seed in control at 4-2 up in the second set, but 2 breaks for Turenko took it to the decider. World number 4 Simona Halep, who needed medical attention on a knee injury, was the first big seed to fall, beaten 6-3, 6-1 by Shelby Rogers. Venus Williams, the 2003 winner, beat Kristina Karolova in 2 straight sets. That's all the sports on News 360, but it is still 0-0 in the game between Morocco and DR Congo in there, so we'll bring you more details on that particular one. Thanks very much for watching. Always a pleasure serving you. Good evening.
Welcome back. We now have some international news coming up now.
Nigerian-born Chief Justice of the Gambia, Justice Emmanuel Fagbele, today excused himself from hearing an injunction against the inauguration on Thursday of Adama Barrow as president. He declined to rule on the injunction by lawyers of President Yahya Jammeh to block the declared winner of the December 1 election. The injunction further requested the Chief Justice or any member of the Gambian judiciary should not take part in the inauguration of the president-elect. The Information Minister, however, said this will not shut the door to the president's desire to see justice done with his election petition. He said the next line of action will be to get the National Assembly to extend Jammeh's tenure of office. In a related development, President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf of Liberia has condemned President Jammeh of recording a telephone conversation she had with him and televising it. In Nigeria, at least 3 people were killed in an early morning bomb blast at a university in the northeastern Borno state. Those killed included a professor at the university. 15 others who were injured have been evacuated to hospitals. Witnesses said 2 explosions went off at the university mosque and at the main entrance of the gate. The attacks bore trace of Boko Haram suicide bombings and were the first on the Maiduguri University campus.
Let's now look at how the weather is going to be like in the next 24 hours, and dry and hazy conditions are expected to persist over the northern sector of the country with relatively cooler nights. The middle and coastal sectors are expected to experience slightly hazy conditions with isolated cases of thunderstorms tonight and tomorrow afternoon. Early morning mist and fog patches are also expected over the forest and hilly areas of the south. Let's now look at the figures.
Your News 360, and we'll be back in a moment. And in this segment tonight, many people prefer to hang out at beaches for recreational purposes. But are beaches in Ghana anything to write home about? They're always looking dirty. But people go there to entertain themselves. In this report, Adjoa Mofase takes a look at some of our beaches.
Beaches all over the world have served as locations for relaxation, contributing significantly towards tourism promotion. Ghana has more than a 540-kilometer stretch of beaches, but majority of them are inundated with garbage, making them less attractive. Ministerial nominee for Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts, Catherine Abilima Afeku, says tourism promotion will be one of her priorities to engender the country's economic development.
Tourism, I say, is the invisible export. There's a lot of potential for job creation in the tourism industry. We have been blessed with natural heritage. We have very beautiful coastal areas with our beaches clean and our people buying into going out. We have the natural vegetation and we have what I call the Akwaba effect, the Ghanaian hospitality.
These locations are where some major concerts and events have been held in the past. A manager at Thela Beach who did not want to speak on camera said the filth along the beaches are as a result of poor waste disposal. He said that complaints had been lodged for waste disposal facilities to be made available at the beaches, but nothing had been done about it. Well, whether or not the dream of getting clean beaches to attract tourists, time will tell. In the build-up to the 2016 election, the coinage John 316 became a household name following the EC's presidential balloting.
President is called John, and then we have number 3, and the elections is happening in 2016. So go and read the Bible, John 3:16. You read what is there, and you will see who will win these elections.
The NDC came up with John 3:16 to facilitate easy identification on the ballot paper. A week after the swearing in of a new government, Kumawood has released a new movie, John 3:16, ostensibly to entertain and mimic the NDC's defeat. The fresh movie, which features Akrobeto, Kodjon Kansa Lewin, and other known Kumawood faces, is expected to soon hit movie shops.
President Mahama, if they don't vote for President, I don't want trouble. Nana Akufo-Addo, it's your president.
Kumawood never disappoints. They seize every opportunity to excite Ghanaians.
Kumawood never
They never cease to amaze. They always have a sense of
but
humor.
they don't that happen during the
situation.
elections.
But yeah, I'm sure. But well, that's a bit of creativity there.
Anyway.
Let's find something to laugh about.
John 3:16.
Exactly.
And that's all we have for you by way of news this evening. Thanks so much for watching. My name is Esi Benewanyame.
And my name is Issa Maone. There will be more updates on 3news.com as well as analysis on News at 10 later tonight. Have a good evening.
Have a good evening.